Well, hello everyone. It's April. I've got a little haul for you guys. I haven't done a haul in what feels like a while. I want to start out by saying that this video is sponsored by Book of the Month. So excited to work with them again. I love Book of the Month. I love that it has finally come to Canada. That happened late last year and just made me so happy. It's interesting. They usually have like one book that has been on my radar and I know I'm gonna want straight away. But there are often books that I've not even ever heard of. In this case, well, in this case, there are two books that I had not heard of. And both sound so right up my alley that I don't understand how I had never heard of them. Let me tell you about those two books. So first we'll see what is in the box. Ooh. Yes. The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. So this takes place in 1873 and we meet women who are spiritualists essentially, and they're gathered at this abandoned chateau on the outskirts of Paris. And they're doing seances. So we meet the leader of the group, I guess you would call her, Vaudeline Dallaire. And then there's also Lena Wicks, who comes to Paris to find answers about her sister's death, but she ends up becoming an understudy. And these two women end up trying to like essentially solve a mystery that deal with the powerful men of London's exclusive seance society. It sounds very interesting and I am all for it. This sounds like something that would be really good at Halloween time. Let's read the first line, shall we? Oh, I also really like, I opened this earlier. I like that it talks about like the 7 stages of a seance and that the book is structured based on that. Love that. Okay, so let's read the first line. Lena, Paris, Thursday, the 13th of February, 1873. And at an abandoned chateau on the wooded outskirts of Paris, a dark seance was about to take place. Not a 5-star first line, but still quite interesting. The next book is Wayward by Amelia Hart. And this takes place in 3 time periods, and we follow 3 different women, all related, I believe, to witchcraft. So that should be interesting. The first woman we meet is Kate. We meet her in 2019. She leaves London and an abusive relationship. She is given Wayward Cottage. Her great aunt left it to her in her will. And she reaches there and realizes that her great aunt had a secret. Of course she did. We also meet Altha in 1619. She is on trial for causing the death of a farmer who was trampled by his cattle. And of course, it's going to tie her to witchcraft and she's probably going to be murdered. And then we follow a woman named Violet in 1942. As World War II rages, she's trapped in her family's grand crumbling estate, which I'm assuming is Wayward Cottage. And she wants an education that her brother had. She misses her mother terribly. And her mother was rumored to have gone mad before her death. And the only traces Violet has of her are a locket bearing the initial W and the word Wayward scratched into the baseboard of her bedroom. This is such a me book. I want to read this in the spring, maybe summer. Okay, let's read the first line of Wayward. Prologue. Altha, 1619. 10 days they'd held me there. Not a 5-star first line, but still very exciting. So I should mention that I have a code for you. If you want to get your first book with Book of the Month, for $9.99, you can just use the word cheers as a code and it will get you your first book for $9.99, which is a great deal, especially for hardcover, and they're always all hardcover, which is lovely. Now we'll move on to the rest of the books. Not too many, but all of which I am very, very happy to have in my possession. The first book is from Catherine. Catherine sent this to me. She is a subscriber who I very much enjoy. She's also Canadian, and she saw my favorite books of 2022 and saw The Light We Carry on the list and that I didn't own it. And there's something about books like this when they're inspiring, and Michelle Obama is nothing but inspiring to me, that I often like to highlight my way through it. And I listened to it on audio, and I actually re-listened to a whole section because I didn't want to forget them, and I was trying to take notes and everything. Anyway, Catherine kindly sent this to me so I can go in and highlight. It's specifically the chapter on raising children. She talked to her mom about raising children and her tips, and she's just chock full of wisdom. So thank you so much, Catherine. I am going to go through and highlight the heck out of this book. I will probably reread this book too because I just love Michelle so very much. Last two books are books that I picked up. First is The Mitford Affair by Mary Benedict. I read one Marie Benedict, was it last year? Yes, it was in December, The Mystery of Mrs. Christie, and enjoyed it. And so this book really made me quite curious and intrigued because Marie essentially takes popular figures in history and reimagines their life and what they were thinking. I like that sometimes. It depends on how it's done, and I liked it, at least in The Mystery of Mrs. Christie. So this is about the Mitford sisters. I have always been very intrigued about the Mitford sisters. One of them was a quite popular writer. I think that was Nancy Mitford. And then there were multiple other sisters who were socialites. One of them was involved in the Hitler Party and the Nazi Party. And it is about these women's relationship with one another during that time, during World War II, where Nancy is a novelist and her sister as a constant visitor to Germany and meets fascist people. Fascist. Very interesting. Incredibly tense, I imagine. So let's read the first line of The Mitford Affair and see what we think of this. July 7th, 1932, London, England, Nancy. Whoa, what is that? The mellifluous. Never heard of that word. Have you heard of mellifluous? The mellifluous sounds of the symphony float throughout the ballroom. That is not a 5-star first line, in my opinion, but I'm so excited to read this. I might pick this up in April. And last, but certainly not least, is a book that is on my March TBR, and this is John Boyne's new book. It's All the Broken Places. This is a sequel to The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. If you haven't read it, you can literally read it in one sitting. This is a chunky one. That book is like just over 100 pages, if that. Tiny, tiny book. Packs a punch. You will cry at the end. Prepare yourself. And that book takes place in World War II. This book follows one of the characters from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. And we meet Gretel when she's 90. She now lives in London. And she does not talk in any way, shape, or form about her past and her history with the Nazi Party. Her father was a high-ranking officer in the Nazi regime. She doesn't talk about that anymore. She lives in London now. She's trying to move past it. But her past kind of catches up with her when a family move into the flat below her. There's a little boy named Henry who moves in, and she starts this friendship with him. And I think stuff from her past just starts to come up. So let's read the first line of all the broken places. Here it is. If every man is guilty of all the good he did not do, as Voltaire suggested, then I have spent a lifetime convincing myself that I am an innocent of all that bad. I really like that. That is a 5-star first line for me. Like it makes you think. And that first chapter is called The Devil's Daughter. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to read this. This might have to be the next book that I read. Okay, those are all of the books that I wanted to share with you in my little haul. Let me know in the comments below. Have you picked anything up lately that you need to read straight away? You can't put them on your shelves to wait for. You just need to dive in straight away. I'd love to know what that is. And I will talk to you all very soon. Bye, guys.